How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Legend of the Unknown. I'm your host, Keith, along with Matt
What's going, guys?
and Frank.
Hey,
Uh, we're going to do this episode a little bit differently. We're going to definitely talk about legend in itself, but also a conspiracy. That's one of the reasons why I like this topic tonight. Many people have heard it or heard of it, and if you haven't, you've been living under a rock. So, without further ado, we're going to jump into it. It's Alcatraz. So, what do you guys know about Alcatraz? Before we even get into it, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know it's where they tortured terrorists for a while.
Alcatraz?
Yeah, is that not where?
Are you sure? Guantanamo Bay was terror.
Cuba is where they tortured terrorists.
No. Forgive me. Got that
This is
wrong.
why he's our technical guy.
That's right.
He does.
So, you haven't heard of Alcatraz?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
The
Do you
only
know where it's located?
San Francisco. I mean, the only real thing that I've heard of it was the escape. That's pretty much it.
Okay. What have you heard in?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
The movie Alcatraz.
I've watched The
This is
Rock.
why I can't identify with these guys. I can't.
My bad. I haven't watched that. What year did that come out? 87, 88?
Let me guess. He's
See what I gotta see what I deal with.
no. Let
Daily.
me guess. He's
Daily.
some gritty some bitch, right? And that's just always mean mugging. Am I right?
Who? What?
Clint Eastwood.
Mean mugging.
Mean mugging. Like,
No, he played one of the guys. He played Frank Morris, who we're gonna be talking about here in a minute.
so
Wait.
he was a hard-nosed guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't mean mugging people, but like you're used to in like the Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and all the spaghetti westerns. Oh, yeah. But still,
He's a one-trick pony.
a damn good movie. If you guys have the chance to watch it,
Okay.
you guys will. It's a damn good movie, especially for a Clint Eastwood fan.
All right. So, what do you know about the escape or anything like that?
Whatever Clint showed in the movie, that's pretty much it.
That's what you know? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get into a little bit of the history of it. I got some facts, and then we're going to kind of freely talk about the Alcatraz itself. So the history of Alcatraz, also known as the Rock, it was located in the middle of San Francisco Bay. One of the reasons why they put it there was because of frigid waters. They wouldn't have any possible escapes due to the length of swimming to shore and also the storm currents and the frigid water temperatures. It actually dates back to the Civil War era. So they had prisoners of war essentially at Alcatraz during the Civil War. Back in 1934, roughly, it was the height of the criminal or the war on crime, and they would send not hard criminals per se, but they would send people to Alcatraz that they want to keep locked down, right?
High-profile criminals, etc.
So,
If I remember right, and I apologize if I'm gonna jump ahead, but it wasn't Al Capone held at Alcatraz for a bit?
yes, he was.
Okay.
So that was one high-profile criminal that was held there. But going back to the high crime, it was basically reinforced in 1934 to hold these people because of the war on crime, right? So Al Capone was one of them. They also had another guy. His name was the Birdman of Alcatraz. Could not find his name, but this guy he never had a bird at Alcatraz, but that's his nickname. So I'm not sure how that got passed around to him, but he was another high-profile prisoner there.
I think that, and I apologize, just going by the movie again, I think it's because he was able to attract He had like a crow, or I know that was in Shawshank Redemption. He had the guy, what's his name? The librarian had a crow, but I think
Brooks.
the Birdman had either a crow or pigeons that he would lure in on his windowsill.
Okay.
That was open, bars, all that stuff. But yeah, hence why he got the name Birdman.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Then, yeah. So with it being, it shut down in 1963. So from 1934 to 1963, how many people do you think were basically incarcerated there?
100,000.
100,000? What do you think?
Oh, I'm gonna do a little bit less.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 60,000.
What if I told you 1,500 people in 30 years?
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
So usually, once you go there, you stay there. Is my understanding of it.
No turnaround.
No, people that actually had long sentences with the federal system, they actually requested to be shipped there. Some fun facts about Alcatraz. I'll give you one right here. There was no water on Alcatraz Island. No fresh water at all.
Had to be shipped in.
Had to be shipped in.
Wow.
Even though they were surrounded by water, they couldn't get fresh water out there other than being shipped in.
Surrounded by salt water, yeah.
We talk about Al Capone. What do you think Al Capone did there? Wow, he stayed there. This hardened criminal. What do you think he did?
He probably had it easy.
Okay.
He was probably enterprising and still networking somehow with his organization, or at least trying to outside.
So he was able to get special treatment. I actually read one fact where he actually played in the band.
Solid.
What?
Yeah.
Who
So,
knew?
right.
A man of many talents.
Killing people and playing the banjo.
Yeah.
And alcohol running, too.
Yeah.
Come on.
Prohibition.
Yeah, the man had it all.
Jack of all trades.
I'll leave you with one more fact. So, this is where we're going to get into the actual legend. Many people thought that an escape attempt was equipment malfunction, was nearly inevitable because one of the frigid waters, cold waters, and the quote-unquote man-eating sharks in the Bay of San Francisco. So there is a, I'll put in a link. There's 42 facts about Alcatraz that you guys can read up on. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with all the facts, but I just thought a couple of those were interesting. So we're going to get back on track with this legend. So when you talk about the escape itself, right? How many people do you think tried to escape?
Like total?
Yep, in 30 years.
About 12.
What'd you say?
I'm going to say just 20.
20? So there's a total of 36 escape attempts.
Just like the Price is Right. Whoever's closer gets.
Come on down. But 14 of those, from what I read, I believe were fatalities. So they were able to capture the 22, and 14 were fatalities. But on June 12, 1962, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, and Frank Morris went missing in the early morning, never to be found again. They made dummies and placed them in the bed to make it look like they were there. A mass search of the three were underway, but nothing led to their capture. So now this dives into what are your guys' thoughts on the actual escape? Do you believe that they made it to, I think it was Angel Island is where they were supposed to be swimming to, or took the raft to?
I think it would have been very difficult, but not impossible. I mean, you look at it, yeah, sure about like all the current and stuff like that, but I mean, it's not super far to in any direction. The problem would be the currents, though. If you get one wrong current, you're in the ocean. So that's it's definitely possible, but you know what happens later on in terms of the sightings and stuff like that. That's where it gets interesting. So as for the escape itself, I think it's plausible.
Okay. What do you think, Ray?
Oh yeah, I think they most likely they did make it. Because you got to think the Raptors. I know you'll cover that here in a bit. What it was made of. So that survived the entire trip across to dry land. You know, if it only made it say halfway, that's only halfway they have to swim then. Considering nowadays too, and I don't know when it actually started, but I know they do a triathlon in San Francisco, and the swim is to Alcatraz Bay.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
So people, and don't get me wrong though, these are athletes who've been training to do these swims, and so of course, how much training are prisoners going to have as far as that goes? So there's a big difference.
But like you're saying,
But at the same time,
a raft get you halfway. And that's all you need. The extra you need.
Right.
Yep. And motivation.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
A person's motivation to just get the hell away, to escape. Motivation is a huge factor.
So, what if I told you guys that the two brothers, they actually read this correctly, they actually separated them because they've done so many stints, and each place they go, they escaped. So they try to keep these guys apart. They send them to Alcatraz because, lo and behold, this prison, you can't escape.
Supposedly, yeah.
They got together, and what's just crazier is they carved holes in their cell walls. Do you remember when we were at Reformatory and you saw the chaseways when we walked through the chaseways?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So basically, that's what was behind their cell. So they cut a hole in there, and these three would meet up. One would be a lookout for, people walking around, and then the other two made a makeshift workshop on the roof of their cell block. So these guys were working, I believe it said it started in December of 1961. So about 6 months they were working in a makeshift workshop.
Okay, on the roof.
On the roof.
Your own cell block.
Yeah. That's what, I'm dumbfounded about. How do you get a workshop on the top of where you're supposed to be sleeping?
It's good luck.
Yeah.
Good.
Or,
How? Because if these guys had created holes in their cells, how 6 months is a long time to not get discovered. Because how many shakedowns did they have to go through during those 6 months?
Was it different
True.
back then in terms of how? I mean, you gotta think over the years, your shakedowns have probably gotten more and more intricate in terms of what they look for, especially when something like this happens, and it might be the second or third time someone successfully barreled out a hole in their cell and got out, right? So, I mean, going on from there, I'm sure your shakedowns are going to involve looking for those kind of things as well.
True. Learned by experience, yeah.
so, kind of like Shawshank Redemption. I mean, when they go in and they go through a cell looking for stuff. I mean, is it like that, or was it a full, thorough, daily that everyone
Right.
went through the same thing? Or was it, let's make sure you're here, and that's all we care about?
Right.
Because, it's an escapable or inescapable island, so.
And it was in the
What are they worried
1960s, so like you're saying, what was the
Standards.
yeah? Because I'm sure the standards have throughout
Evolved.
the years evolved.
Well, here it says Clarence and John, the brothers, they became skilled swimmers, and amazed their siblings by swimming in the frigid waters of Lake Michigan as ice still floated on its surface. So
Damn, there we go.
I think they for sure probably made it. Especially if they, I mean, the cold aside, I mean you've got to fight the current as well. But if they're skilled swimmers,
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. They're used to.
the difficult stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so look up the Alcatraz escape. It should be like on FBI.gov. This actually shows you pictures of the hole. It shows you their makeshift area. That yeah, there you go.
Here's the dummy head that they used. It's pretty darn good if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean, if a guard just passing through at night with just a flashlight, just a quick peek, make sure you're there.
So once this happened, like I said, it was in a 6-month period. They made paddles, they made the boat, and they made life jackets. There you go. There's one of the paddles and life jackets. So, and they obviously, it's not just at your convenience of having this stuff. So months and months of gathering this stuff to make it, and I think the life jackets were made out of like some rubber, and from what I'm reading right now, the wrap was like an inner tube type thing. So
It's raincoats is what they use for the float.
for the raft.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Frank. 'Cause I see so many survivalists and so many military people saying, if you're ever in a situation, do this. If I use my pants as a life jacket, how far can it get me?
I mean, surprisingly pretty far. But the fact that if you're trying to do that, you're holding onto your pants to keep your life jacket from going both way. So you're just paddling with your feet, so it makes it that much harder. But so you're stopping every, I would say, 10 minutes probably to refill the pants with air and then tie it on. And you're trying to kick with your feet again, blah blah. So that'd be a tough sell, tough swim.
Okay.
In this situation.
So do you think with them having a raft, getting halfway there like we talked about earlier, and then doing that method would be able to get much shorter?
Oh, yeah.
Safer.
Especially, yeah, because they used rain suits to create their life jackets and also the raft. And I mean, I'm sure you're probably going to get to it, but I'm going to spoil it. They glued these together. So they didn't have to stop every so often to refill with air. Once they got inflated, they could go.
My next question though is, how would you inflate something like that?
Breathing.
Yeah.
I mean, they had time. That's the thing is they had a whole. This right here is pretty much their workshop where they constructed everything. So I mean,
That's crazy.
yeah,
2 guys paddling, 1 guy keep
yeah.
the life raft
Yeah.
blowing up. Yeah, I mean, however you got to do it.
I can see that happening. I would agree with that. So now that we're on the part of them doing the escape, we've explained how it happened, what they used. Now they made it to land, right? I'm assuming they go through California first. There's a massive search. From my understanding, they wrote letters to people telling them their plan, and then the FBI followed up on it, or law enforcement followed up on it, and these things didn't happen. The carjackings that we're talking about, they didn't happen. So my thing is to get to Well, obviously they want to get out of California, right? They're wanted, and I assuming they wouldn't stay in California, so they probably hit the ground and took off from California, right?
I mean, I think it could go either way. So you could probably make an argument for them staying in one place for a little while, just laying low. Because first thing that they're going to do, then at least in law enforcement's mind, is get out of there.
Mhm.
So they're going to start traveling. I mean, if it were me, I'd probably lay low for a week or two just so that way the heat in that immediate area in California dies down, and then you start making your way slowly to your final destination, which they ended up in supposedly in Florida, which is what I read. So, yeah, I think the going back to the postcards saying about their plan, I think that was probably just to throw law enforcement off,
Okay.
because I think they did that multiple times. I think they knew what they were doing. I don't think all of them made it. I think just the brothers did, from reading from them swimming in the lake. I might be wrong, but I think there was a sighting of a body that was floating.
Okay. I didn't read that, but
So I think the third person might have died once the raft.
Morris.
Yeah, once the raft was done and used up. I think the brothers made it since they were so used to the frigid waters.
Or Clint Eastwood.
Well, what did the movie say?
All they showed is them escaping, and that was the end of the
Oh,
movie.
gotcha. Okay.
So,
Well, thanks
Yeah.
for ruining the movie, Frank. Appreciate that. I was gonna watch
he
it.
just ruined it.
So, going back to what you're saying, these things actually washed up on shore. The paddle, the life jackets, the raft.
Which would make sense if it only got them halfway. What's the
Yeah.
point of using it anymore? Just ditch it all.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's probably what happened was.
So, going back to when they got on land, there was no carjacking, that was reported. Here's my thought: what if they had someone on the outside, the getaway car, and they got so far, and then started stealing the cars to get them across country?
Could be. Was there any evidence of that?
No.
But if they had somebody on the outside waiting for them, why wouldn't that person just take them to wherever they were going?
True. Or
And that would explain why there was no sign of them, or no sightings of them in California right after the escape. They already had transportation to get out. So
Or had a place to lay low,
yeah,
someone's basement.
and especially back then, how many people, is now. Well, I don't know about now, but anyways, how many people didn't like law enforcement, etc. So just gotta find that right person who's like, yeah, F the popo, I'll take you where you need to go, boys.
yeah,
And
like
that deal.
yeah.
Fuck down.
So they made it across country, right? And this is what's kind of cool that I think is cool. One of the places they went to is Ohio. They stopped in Ohio, apparently, before they got to their final destination. So I don't know how long they stayed in Ohio. I don't know where at, Columbus, wherever. But it's cool that one of the most infamous crimes in the United States, Ohio has a tie to.
Well,
So
and it makes sense, yeah, because the brothers are from Michigan.
Yeah.
You stop and you want to meet your family, but you don't want to go home because that's where law enforcement will be looking for you.
Right.
Yeah, just meet halfway, so to speak.
And that's where the postcards get tied in too, because they apparently send postcards and flowers to their mother every Mother's Day. So the brothers did.
after they escaped,
Mhm.
okay,
Up until her death.
all right. So here's where the story conflicts a little bit, right? You said they ended up in Florida.
That was the most recent. So there's been multiple sightings of them, but the most recent one that's been corroborated by multiple people is Marina, Florida.
Okay,
Mariana.
So they had family in North Carolina.
Okay.
It's in England. I believe it's their nephew. Okay, so they believe that from Ohio they went to North Carolina. Once in North Carolina, they hung out a little bit. All right. Now, here's where I believe that they completely they completed their escape and they lived out their lives. I believe that they went from North Carolina and live in Brazil. Because if you can pull it up of the England brothers in Brazil, they have had people, they sent this picture back to that nephew in North Carolina that helped them out. When they got to Brazil, they did kind of the same thing as what they did with their grandma, is they would send that stuff back. And they've had people facial recognition, and it lines up with both of the brothers. And they, where they take these pictures at, the rocks have been moved, but they still do. That's the nephew of the Englands. Which are, I mean, they're dead now. There's no.
Oh yeah.
You know. Because I think he's in his 70s. But they take a picture of Brazil, and they're standing in front of these rocks. Well, over the years, I think it was like in the 70s, over the years, the landscape has changed a little bit, but that landscape, the rocks are gone, but that landscape is still the same as what it was when they took that picture. And they line them up, yep, right there. Pretty crazy.
That is supposedly the brothers.
Yes.
And one of the only supposed pictures of the brothers after the escape.
I call bullshit
Okay.
about them being in Brazil, because those are the whitest native, people to live in Brazil. If you live in Brazil, you're getting a tan. I'm sorry, but they don't have a tan.
And maybe Brazil is kind of a cover-up that the nephew was telling, so it's throwing the people off.
Yeah.
But that was the last known picture of the two brothers. But you said there's a recent sighting in Florida, or
Yeah.
so you think it's BS? You don't think?
Not
I
Brazil.
think it's plausible, but I'm curious. That picture itself, is that the brothers?
Oh, okay.
Those pictures, or that picture, you guys had a lot of facial hair, so there's a lot of, and it's really grainy, so it would take a lot of vetting to ensure, like, oh yes, this is our guy, or these are our guys, versus just a couple of smokes that look like symbols.
Yeah.
To that. And then the prison pictures, I know the prison pictures are black and white, but in that Brazil picture, one guy had blonde hair, and yeah.
Oh, I got you. Because both of them looked like they had dark hair in the picture.
Well, in the prison picture.
Yeah, yeah.
That Brazil picture, both guys.
Okay. I can see that. And I can also see the nephew wanting to keep this story alive for them. So I can see that. I can see that working that way. But overall, I think the regular decision, I guess, is that they made it, right? What do you think, Matt?
Well, I have the Florida, the Mariana, Florida sighting. So it was in 1989. A woman who identified herself as Kathy reported to a tip line that a photo of Clarence England matched the description of a man who lived on a farm near Mariana, Florida. And then another woman also recognized the photo of Clarence and said he lived near Mariana. And then she correctly identified his eye color, height, and other physical features. Then was also interesting. Interesting was another witness. Oh wait, till it gets back.
You're good. Frank's microphone died, so we got little technical difficulties. Did you need batteries or?
That's why you.
Yeah.
That's why you always check the batteries beforehand.
Yep.
All right.
So back to the Florida sightings. They also said another witness claimed that a sketch of Frank Morris bore a striking resemblance to a man she had seen in the area. I personally don't think that one is true. I think they probably would have split up. I don't think that all three of them would have stayed together the entire time. I also don't believe that they would have stayed in the same spot the entirety of their lives. Because if you're on the run, you get comfortable for too long in one spot, that's how you get caught. So I think they kept moving around. So all these different sites that we have over the entirety of the U.S. and even in Brazil, they all might be true because they probably were on the run for the rest of their lives, pretty much. So, and the only people that truly evade the law in terms of, prison escapes, they tend to move. They tend to never be found, and for good reason, because they're good at what they're doing. So,
But let me ask you guys this: if you can't go back home to your family, you guys are in this situation, right? You can't go back home to your family. Your only family is your brother, from here on out. Are you gonna split with him? Or are you gonna stay with him during your whole?
I mean, I'd probably stay with them for a bit.
I'm not splitting with him. No way.
What do you mean splitting with them?
I won't. I would stay if I escaped.
I'd stay. Yeah, I'd stay.
I would stay with him. I wouldn't split. There's no way.
Yeah.
Because, well, one.
Or at least, if not outright, but you're at least staying in a general area. General area as.
But I have. I don't know. Now that I said it, I have two separate thoughts of that. If I don't split with him, I can kind of keep track of what he's doing, right?
Less chance of you getting caught.
Yeah. But if I do split with him and he does get caught, he has no idea where I'm at.
True.
But if he does, he might be more prone to giving you up.
Not these guys.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't. I'm not saying they would, but I'm just saying. If the third guy got caught though, and he knew where the brothers were at, that's why I don't think that they would have stayed in the same spot together, because blood's different than a person you met in prison that you escaped with, in my opinion. So, I think
yeah, but depending on what you're going through, if all three of us we're in that same situation, right? And let's just say we're brothers. Frank, he's just the co-conspirator that we saw.
The Frank Morris of.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Would you want all three of us to stay together? Even though he's not blood, but he's got just as much fault at this than we do.
But in his mind, if he escaped with you guys, right, and he's the one that gets caught, he's gonna see that is not fair, and he's gonna turn us in.
But that's what I'm saying.
Necessarily, because there's a code. I'm sorry, there's a code among criminals and so forth. And what does he have to gain? He escaped prison. He was already in for
didn't say what his sentence was. I'm sure if he's sent to Alcatraz, like you were saying earlier, he's there for life. So what's he
Right.
have to gain by the
Snitching.
authorities? Yeah, trying to throw him a deal.
I mean, he might not be there for life, but he's got some time.
Yeah,
You
and this
know.
is he's already escaped, so there's like, as soon as he gets thrown back in, there's no deal that the authorities can throw him at him that's gonna reduce his sentence from.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. Especially
So-
if he's looking at that kind of time.
I mean, they
Exactly.
might. Why wouldn't they? Like, you help us catch these other two guys, we'll knock 20 years off your sentence.
Back in the '60s, no way.
Yeah,
No way. Back in the '60s, well, you saw the reformatory,
What they were arrested for?
yeah,
Yeah.
and they were
Stupid
getting
stuff.
booked then.
masturbation.
I mean, granted, it was in the early 1900s, but still, I mean, for the time that they would spend incarcerated on rock or on Alcatraz, yeah, they're not doing just small bits, or they're not doing small time. It's a pretty lengthy time, so I don't think, especially escaping and making that a mockery at that point.
Yeah, they throw your ass
Yeah, I
in there for
don't-
2 life
yeah.
sentences.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna throw you any deals.
Well, I think the other interesting sighting, or I wouldn't even call it a sighting. It could be of them, but it said that at her funeral in 1973, which is only 11 years after they escaped. In 1973, at her funeral, two very tall, unusual women in heavy makeup were reported to have attended her funeral.
So
And how many cousins hit on him?
yeah. So much Virginia.
Might have been.
That's plausible.
But I mean, to me, that is more than plausible. I mean, that makes absolute sense. 'Cause, I mean, come on, if they've been sending flowers, Mother's Day and cards, however holidays throughout the year to their mom, there's a strong familial relationship there.
They don't
So
wanna
they're
attend her
gonna do
funeral.
Whatever it takes to get back and attend the funeral.
But if your family's in on it, because they knew that they're out, and for the most part, everyone was like, they hit their nephew. He won't even really give up information on it now. So if they're that type of family, why would you have to dress up like two women to
Because
come?
what are the authorities going to do? The authorities, especially the FBI, knows.
Yeah, they'll be attending that funeral
Yeah,
too.
they're going to be attending the funeral. So hey,
Yeah, but you-
guess what? We're just going to go watch the funeral and
But you change your features. I mean, well, I guess they are, but
yeah,
yeah,
just like women.
but I don't know. Shave your beard, get rid of the glasses, bald head, lose some weight. I mean, a lot of that can happen, and they won't even know it's you. Over dressing like women, that's going to throw up more red flags to me. Like, huh?
But if you're just a random FBI agent, from the local field office and the headquarters sends you prison photos of these two guys and say, hey, watch out for these guys. They may be going to watch their mom's funeral, and you're going to be watching for guys who look like those black and white prison photos. You see two, regardless they were tall, but whatever.
They were clean shaven in those photos.
That's true.
So even if they had beards and shaved them off, they probably would have looked more like the prison photos than anything.
Granted, but they were heavily make-upped and
Right.
wigs, dressed like women.
But if I'm them, do I even risk that? Because that seems like if there's gonna be a place for them to go look, I feel like that's the place for.
Would you do that for your mom?
That. I mean, if I were in that position, no. In this day and
Why
age,
do you hate your mom?
I don't hate
Does
my
your
mom.
watch these?
I
Does she
she's
tell
watched a
you-
few of them, but if I'm in this situation in today's day and age, with the amount of surveillance and shit like that, I would not go anywhere near my family.
These days, yes, I absolutely agree.
Oh yeah.
Especially with the advancement of technology leading to what does you know
They can change your.
what are
They
you
can
gonna
look
like
with a beard, without a
10
beard,
years from now.
with what do I look like with long hair, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Back
it's
then,
stupid.
That was 73.
I'd go dressed as a woman. Why not?
I thought you did that. Don't you do that to Kroger?
Shut the fuck up.
I thought that was a weekly.
I think that's why he's so open to it.
I'm.
But go ahead.
No, I just say so. Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, they were there at the funeral, and they've been sticking together, and the family has been in greater communication with these guys on what has been going on. Has
Right.
Been told.
I don't think they're going to. I think the family is so thick that they're not going to be like, oh, they're going to be here. I don't know. I mean, you might have that one cousin or one uncle or whatever that you did dirty, and he's like, hey, I know you're going to be here, so I'm just going to drop this little pin off, and you're going to be picked up there, that would fucking piss me off,
Well,
you know. But
what if I told you that wasn't the only sighting of them at one of their family members' funerals?
Oh, do tell.
yeah, because that goes back to that's how thick the family is.
Right.
If you're willing, okay, if you're willing to risk going to your mom's funeral, which I mean I would.
That was 11 years after
Yeah.
they escaped. Their father died in 1989.
Same way.
There were 6 or 7 sightings of the Anglin brothers from the 70s till 89, and they all originated in Florida and Georgia. And when their father died in 1989, 2 strangers showed up with beards. They showed up at the funeral home. And then, according to the person that reported this, they stood in front of the casket looking at the body for a few minutes. They wept, and then they walked out. And I mean, that's to me, that probably was them as well, because I mean, shoot, that's what 70, 62.
20 years.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, beards would probably do it.
Yeah. You put weight on.
And
Exactly.
the case would be so cold at that point.
And I think that's where you'd probably have the most guts to do it. It's even at 11 years. You know, I've been on the run for 11 years. No one's said anything. No one, you know, the trails went cold.
This is 27 years after.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely. Especially when family knows, you know, where you're at and no tips have been given or anything like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shy to step out for that either. That's a lot of interesting facts. That's more facts than I had, you know, planned to talk about.
Yeah.
But that just shows you how deep this can actually go. Conspiracy theories or legends, whatever you want to call this episode, how deep it can actually go, because the sightings, did they even make it from was it Angel Island?
Right. And then they've done multiple studies of the ocean currents back on that exact night and that exact time. And they said that the debris that was washed up on Angel Island, or the paddle and the raft and everything, they were all consistent with the current that night, and that the chances of them surviving were slim. That's all they say. I mean,
So it circles back.
exactly.
Dude, I mean,
Did they get halfway?
yeah.
If they got halfway and the brothers knew how to swim, their chances of surviving were probably double.
Did they get out of that storm current?
Yeah.
Because how far out is a current?
And it's not just storm current; it's normal currents.
Right.
Right.
For that area, so But yeah, no, their experience with swimming in waters in Michigan, I think, absolutely helped them in this case, and came to play. And yeah, I personally, I have no doubt that those, at least the brothers.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I believe that.
No, poor Frank.
So
Unknown.
I mean, they probably knew going into it that he probably wouldn't survive.
But he was a means to get out.
Exactly.
So
It was
oh,
manpower.
well, they probably thought of it as, if we make it, sweet. If we don't, we're not, in
Well, we
that
got
shithole.
others.
So,
Yeah.
but I firmly believe that if you work 6 months on that plan, what are the odds of it failing? Because you probably have to sit there, and all you have is time. So you probably sit there and you think, what if this? What if that? What if?
I mean, I don't think they could ever predict the current, because I think just at that point the technological advancements weren't up to par at that point. So I don't know that for sure. I know them having that information is probably very slim. So I think they were just going solely on that they were good swimmers. They have swam in cold waters before, and I mean that's pretty much all I think they had to go off of. And if that raft got them all the way there, fantastic. If not, swim the rest of the way.
Yeah. It was all determination. And I can tell you, as a combat arms veteran,
Mm-hmm.
you can plan your heart out for a year, and I'm telling you, it's
Something will
not-
always go wrong.
Something's gonna derail it.
But-
It always happens.
Right,
So,
but don't you have like a plan B, plan C at some point?
their plan B.
You know,
To
just
swim.
Determination. That's determination.
Yep.
Just
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good episode. I
enjoyed that.
I did too. We'll have to.
good talk. It's good
We'll,
talk.
we'll have to look. And it actually went a little bit longer than the 30 minutes that we normally do. So,
I'm gonna go watch some of these documentaries now
Well,
on this.
dude, some of the documentaries are crazy.
And I'm going to reiterate to especially you fans, go watch the Clint Eastwood version, the movie.
Well-
It's actually a movie.
And one reason why we do this is because it opens up the talk and so forth of people researching stuff. So many people don't do their own research anymore. They just rely on what TV's feeding them and so forth. So go actually dive into some of these facts. It's kind of crazy, the stuff that you can find out on, basically any legend, anything that you are into that you actually have a desire for. Research it. I mean, and you can find some of the stuff out that you never even knew about that,
Oh, yeah.
So, and if you guys find out facts about this that we didn't talk about on the podcast, put them in the link and we'll look at them and
Comment.
and we'll look at them and we'll discuss them, and maybe we'll do another part 2.
And I will even go a little bit farther and say, if you heard us say something that you know is actually false or is not true, and you for sure can prove it, point it out. I'm always interested in
Yep.
in
Feedback.
learning and owning up to my mistakes. So I don't know about these. Their egos are, but I am anyway. So definitely point it out. I love to be on the right course, be put on the right track.
Agreed.
All right, that's all we got. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Cheers.